All right. Can everybody see the screen? We doing good? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I move through here, if you have questions, feel free to go ahead and answer them. I may ask you just to wait, like if I'm really close to wrapping up, but like once we get done with audits, I'll let you ask a couple of questions, and then the same thing after budgets. We can't get too in depth because I do want to make sure I get through all the material for you. But then at the end, I'm happy to stay on as long as you need to answer any specific questions, or if you need more information than what I was able to provide you. All right, so like I said, in the chat is my phone number, is my email. Again, please feel free to reach out to me throughout the year because you've got some big milestones coming up that we'll start discussing here in just a moment. So, all right, so here are some resources that are available to you. One of the ones I recommend the most is our website. We have a lot of information up there for you. Feel free also, Florida PTA, once your new and returning officers are uploaded, you will be receiving a kit of material, and within that kit of material is a section called Dollars and Cents, and that will walk you through from the beginning of being a treasurer, and it's got everything. It's got sample budgets. There's a lot of really great information on there, and Florida PTA updates it every single year. You can expect to see that, I would say sometime like early August. They've got, they handle the whole state of Florida, so you have to just be patient, but they will push it out. Here's a great link to Florida PTA. They have financial information. There's a lot of information on this one where they have, you can see here, a step-by-step user guide, insurance for your PTA. And this is a lot of the information that we're going to go through as well. Oops, got a little crazy. All right. So PTA.org, that's National PTA's website. They have a whole e-learning course with lots of information to help support all officers and treasurer. They also have a local leader kit, which has a lot of great information as well. You're welcome to call me. You're welcome to call the state office. You can email the treasurer. And I highly encourage you to network. Your local county council, we offer training 3 times a year, typically August, January, and April, May timeframe. We'll be setting our calendar at the beginning of July. So if you check our website, you'll see other training opportunities where you can come in person if that's a little easier than doing a Zoom. All right, so the definition of treasurer is you receive and distribute funds in accordance to the membership's approved budget, and you'll work in partnership with the PTA members to ensure that your PTA has the funds needed to fulfill your mission. And your mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. And so what that means is you're not here just to raise money to put asphalt down. You're not here to raise money just for sunshades and things like that, although that can certainly be a part of what you do, but you are here to advocate for our students. And a part of that advocacy includes advocating for teachers, public school education, and a whole host of things. And so one of the things I want to start off with is by telling you guys that we raise money to fund the programs that we bring to our students and to our schools. We do not exist to fundraise. We are not a fundraising organization. Our primary purpose is advocacy. Right, let's see here. All right, so these are just a few of the basics. Some things such as every check has to have 2 signatures. And part of why you're doing this is at all times you're striving for checks and balances. You want to make sure you're just not operating by yourself, that the president or whoever else is a check signer also knows what is going on. Debit card purchases, that one's a little hard, right? Because we're not going to just go with you, or I can't come to your home and sit next to you while you purchase something off of Amazon. But your unit can work on something that works for you. So I'm this coming year, I'll be the recording secretary at Lutz K-8. And so one of the things that we do is essentially when a program is set to begin, we will say, we're going to be using the debit card to make purchases. It goes into the minutes. And then you'll see that reflected in the treasurer's report, and then there'll be supporting documentation. So if later on you were to audit us, you would look at my minutes, you would say, oh, she did this, and then you would see supporting documentation. One of the key things I like to stress is that only the president can sign contracts. Interestingly enough, when you are the outgoing president, as the school year is wrapping up, you cannot sign any contract that binds the following board to anything. Your term is done and a new board is now forming, and after July 1, that new president and their board can enter into contracts. And the incoming president really shouldn't sign any contracts, but more experienced PTA boards will know, oh, we'll definitely have the money, and they'll only sign it if it's something maybe occurring in January or February. But, you know, like if you're doing a golf outing, you'll want to reserve the golf course. But it's always good to ask too, what happens if this contract is broken? What can I expect to pay? Oh, it's a $50 fine. Oh, that's fine. You know, you can absorb that. Some of the basics, like as you are going in your role, you want to know, is there a paper trail for every transaction, or do you at least have an email from Amazon, or can you look in your Amazon account where you can see past orders? All deposits and expense slips, you want to make sure that they're signed by 2 individuals. Typically, the first one is the treasurer, and usually it's the president. And what we do at our school is the treasurer will show up with all the things that need to be signed that month. We do our board meeting, and then the treasurer and the president will stay behind. But let's say the president had to go, the vice president can also sign it. It just needs to be another member of the board so that there's eyes on what is going on. Bank statements. You still want to always have them mailed to your school or to your PO box. You don't ever want them to be digitally sent to you. And you can most certainly go into your bank account, and I will do this myself. Like sometimes I want to reconcile because I'm ready to start the next month, but I don't have my physical statement that has been mailed to me, but I will print off one directly from the bank's website. And I know that I will have that original bank statement, and I will eventually get it signed. And if you looked at the 2, they would be identical. You know, are you maintaining original documents? And control and limit access just means you want to make sure if your unit has a debit card or credit card, that you know where it's at, that there's some kind of protocol with who's using it, what the purpose it will be used for. Same thing with cash. If you complete an evening and there's a lot of cash, what's your protocol? I always recommend, you know, somebody go with you that night to do the deposit. You want to make sure that you have 2 people that are counting the money. Sometimes it helps if it's a big night, it helps to have a 3rd or 4th person there just to double check your math. You want to make sure that every year, and even throughout the year, you want to review your standing rules, which will encompass the procedures and how you do things. And don't ever be afraid to ask questions. It is totally fine if you don't know what's going on. You know, maybe you missed something, you know, you were making a note. It's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to say, why are we doing this way? You know, because sometimes, and we're all guilty of this, sometimes you just do something and it just gets rolled, you know, you just keep doing it. PTAs are no different. All right, so here's a few things for June, July. So one of the first things is, if your outgoing treasurer has a copy of 2021's dollars and cents, ask them for it, because you could do some light reading while you're sitting by the pool. Make sure that you're coordinating with the outgoing treasurer. He or she can show you just some of the small things that they do. Some of the larger units will have programs like QuickBooks, which is how they will manage their money. Some are smaller, so it's just an Excel spreadsheet, but maybe you're not really that good on Excel spreadsheet or Excel. It would be neat, you know, it would give you the opportunity to do a little research on it and kind of look and make sure that maybe if you need more training, the outgoing treasurer can make sure to be there to help support you with using some of these programs. You want to make sure you set up your treasurer materials. And let's see, review your bylaws, standing rules, policies, and procedures. Update the signatures on the bank account. That should have been done or should be pretty close to being done. And debit and credit cards, if you have ones from the 21-22 school year with the prior, whether it was a president, a treasurer, whoever had the debit card, if they're not in that role anymore, you need to cancel that credit card or, close it and then get a new one issued in either the treasurer's name, the president's name. Usually one of the things that county council does is the debit card is in the president's name, but I'm the treasurer and I hold it. So you could also do opposite, right? You could leave a card in, say, a president's name, but again, like the treasurer will hold it, or the president holds it and it's in the treasurer's name. You can do things like that. It's whatever works for your unit. As you move into July and August, you want to make sure that you've updated passwords. You get administrative rights to Member Hub so that you can remit state dues. Now, this is not going to be a training on Member Hub, but one of the things, oh darn it. Well, I'll show you in a little bit. But let's see, you should be looking, you'll need to complete your audit. You should have a calendar meeting so that you can then you can have a budget meeting. And we're going to talk about all these things in depth. So I don't want you to think that I'm just skipping over it really quickly. You should be late August, early September. Prepare your 990s, and you need to be prepared to pay your insurance. All right, so first order of business is your audit. The purpose of it is it is required. It's in our bylaws. We are required to do it. It is a requirement by the IRS. It's also a requirement from Florida PTA that the unit have completed an audit in order to be in compliance. It is one of the 5 items. And it also shows your membership that the PTA board is managing the funds well. So the audit committee is usually selected at the 3rd general meeting. It has to have a minimum of 3 people on there, none of which could be a check signer for the year that's being audited. So what that means is maybe you're an incoming treasurer, and as long as you weren't a check signer in the prior year, you can sit on the audit committee, even though you might already be a check sign, like they might have added you in June or July. That is okay, because you were not a check signer for the 21-22 school year where all of the transactions that you're about to audit. A question I get asked a lot is if it's mandatory or a requirement that the new treasurer be on the audit committee. It is not. It is recommended, and it's a great way for you to kind of see what's going on, just see some of the stuff that's gone on, but you don't have to do it. I mean, it's summer vacation. I mean, a lot of us are traveling. We've got kids at home. June and July become difficult for some people. The audit is due at the end of August. You have 2 ways that you can submit it. You can send it, complete it, sign it. You want to make sure that you keep a copy. Also give your recording secretary a copy. And when you complete it, so if you completed it in July, you'd want to report that at your July board meeting. If you complete it, whether it's July or August, but maybe it's late July and you've already had your meeting, you just want to report it at the next board meeting that you did complete it. And also report it to membership, because it is such an important item. It's critical to your unit being in compliance. You should also say at the first general meeting, we have completed the audit. It has been emailed to Florida PTA. We have a copy. No errors were found. We had no problem, whatever you want to say regarding that. But this way you're letting your membership know that you're doing your due diligence on your part. Let's see. Okay. Budget. I think I spend most of my time as county council treasurer asking questions about budget. It is not meant to be to the penny until the end of the year. And we'll talk about what I mean by that in a minute, but it's The purpose of a budget is to show all the expected income and expected expenses that you will have throughout the year. So that will be from July through the end of June. And because membership is the one who approves how you spend the money. You guys might come up with, the board might come up with the plans and the ideas. You put that in the budget and membership says yay or nay. And some key points regarding it is that it is for all PTA activities, anything that you might be doing, including any fundraisers that you're going to have. And one of the things because the treasurer will run the budget meeting, and you're not alone in this, the people who show up are also charged because it's typically board members that are invited. You want to make sure that all the items on there are focused on the PTA mission and the purposes. You want to make sure that you're not just that you don't have a line on there where you just hand over money to the principal and you have no idea what they're doing with it. If you hand money over to the school because you did a PTA fundraiser for that purpose, you need to say it's for technology. It is for a playground sunshade. It is for smart boards in the teacher's classroom. It needs to be very specific items. And when you turn that over to the school, you also have to include a memorandum, and they need that, they being the Hillsborough County school employees, because they get audited every summer. And one of the things the auditor will look for is, hey, you took in this money, where's the corresponding paperwork that says, what are you doing with this money? Transparency is key regarding budgets, which is why we do it. We want people to, this is what we're doing. One of the things to focus on too is there's a thing called the 3-to-1 rule. And what that means is for every one fundraiser, you have to offer 3 PTA programs. And that is because, again, it goes back to, we are not a fundraising organization. We are here to advocate and to provide programs that support our students and our teachers. So now a lot of people get panicked about this. What does that mean? What does a program look like? A program can be something as simple as you collect used suits and dresses for prom at a high school or a middle school. You collect food, or a big thing that we do here at Lutz, they'll collect socks and shaving items and toiletry items, and they'll donate it to a VA hospital. Boom, right there, PTA program. Doesn't even have to be anything that costs a dime, but just something that you're doing to bring your community together. So that can include a community day. It could be donuts with grown-ups. It could be a dance. It could be, and you could reward with popsicles at the end of a quarter for grading. Let's see, the budget has to be adopted by membership before you begin spending. And all funds generated need to be spent on purposes that advance the PTA work. And the same thing goes with fundraising activities, should be aligned with PTA mission in mind and be of service to the students at the school. And one of the questions that I will get is, well, how do I spend money if I don't have my first general meeting scheduled until, say, August 25th? Well, what you'll do when you're creating this budget, you are going to have a line on your budget that is called summer contingency, summer spending, call it whatever you want, but it will be the spending that occurs from July 1 until you have your 2022-23 budget approved. And so it can get a little confusing with people, but essentially what you're doing is you're saying, hey, right, because you don't want to stop business, because we're a unit, we have stuff that happens. It doesn't matter if it's June, July, and school is out. There are still things that occur, things that we want to do. And so you put a line on there that says, hey, I'm going to be spending this money. And one of the things as well is so this is interesting too, because as soon as July 1 hits, all of us, including county council, none of us can spend any money until we complete our audit. So it's pretty key. That's why you want to try to get your audit done sometime in July, because you can't do anything. I've been asked many times, well, what about deposits? I mean, there are deposits. Some people begin their membership campaign, so money starts coming in through MemberHub. That's fine. They're just asking you to freeze spending so that nothing more is going out, so that the auditors can make sure that that June 30th bank statement is accurate, and that, you know, you weren't writing a bunch of checks like June 30th to, you know, try to beat it. But please don't do that. So let's see. Okay. So your budget committee, the treasurer is typically the chair, but there are times, I mean, the treasurer is busy, they can't be there. It is totally fine to have the president be the chair. And the chair is actually, the president is actually serves as the chair on every single committee except for the nominating committee, which we won't talk about in this presentation. And then you invite all of the officers. You don't need a quorum on this one because there are no notes. This is just you preparing the budget to present to, you present it to your board, you approve it to present to, at the first general meeting, you approve it to present to membership. You want this meeting to occur, I recommend sometime in June. But at the same time, I mean, I get it. Some people don't have their calendars together until early July, and you can't really do a budget unless you know roughly the things you want to do. It doesn't mean that you will do them. And that's another good point about the budget. Just because you put something on the budget does not mean you have to do it. You could have said, we're going to raise 20,000 for a sunshade, and you only raised 10,000. You as the treasurer are obligated to say, we cannot purchase the sunshade because we don't have enough money. We have to do another cycle of fundraising, whether that's the next year. And then that becomes a little different item. That becomes what they would call a restricted item, because if you raise money for a specific purpose, you can only spend it on that purpose unless you go back to your membership and say, something happened, we couldn't do it. I need your approval to not spend the money on this item. I need your approval to spend it on this instead. Let's see. And before you can start spending, you want to make sure that you have your membership's approval. But again, that does not include, because there's a large number of us local units that will do things like welcome back breakfast. We'll just do a few things, like none of it's very expensive. Some of us will send people to leadership convention, which is always in July. And so those are expenses that you are going to incur. They should have been on your summer expenditure, and you are okay to spend that. All right, so let's see, I've kind of mixed it up just a little bit about creating a budget. So when your committee gets together and you sit down, you want to show up to the table. And for our new treasurers, you wouldn't be able to do this. Your outgoing treasurer would have to help you a little bit with this. Because they should wrap up the prior year's budget with all of the actuals. And then you would sit down with that. And then I always call it proposed. So I have a column of actual, and then I have a column of proposed. And then we go through, do we want to do fall festival this year? No, we don't. We want to do a spring one instead. Do we want to do a golf outing? Yes, we do. Okay, so that stays. Do we want to do this particular fundraiser? No, we don't. We want to do a color run. Okay, no problem. And so you just go through it you start at income, you just go through line by line by line. And it really is it's your best guess, educated guess. Now, there's units such as Lutz, Lowry, just really experienced units that know what they're doing. They just knock it out of the park. And we roughly know what we're going to bring in from year to year. So we have a much better idea. But for you brand new units, or units that have been rechartered, or maybe your entire board just left, maybe there was some dramatics, who knows. So in that case, what you want to do is you want to come together as a board, and it'd be nice if your principal was there and maybe, some of the assistant principals. What do you want to do? Just talk about what you want to do and put it on there. Don't feel pressure that it has to happen. But if you're brand new or if you're just restarting, don't try to do like a ton of events. Don't do that to yourself. Do small ones. Maybe start off with popcorn parties, or maybe do a bingo night or a movie night. You could do small things like that, things that don't cost a lot of money, and you can get your mind around that when you need to fundraise for those kind of items. Let's see. Oh, it helps to have the completed audit, and it also helps to have your calendar set. And again, that's something where the incoming president should be sitting down with the principal. And that's only because, the principal can't tell us whether we can have events or not. But what the principal can do is say, that's not a good week to do a wood rose sale because that's state testing. We don't, right? We don't ever want to interfere with teachers. We don't want to interfere with any of that stuff. So that's the only, you're not sitting down with them for permission. You're sitting down with them to make sure that the schedules match up. All right, so let's see. So I got that. All right, before I do that. All right, so we've got, all right. Okay, before I move on, does anybody have any questions? So far, I've talked about a few things. How do I say your name? S-U-G-E-Y?
Suhey.
Suhey. I'm sure that I would have been calling you Sugar.
That's fine. I have a question about the 990 for this year. Are we going to be able to do it online? Because prior to last year, we were not able to. We had to mail it in. But last year, they allowed us to do it online. So are we going to be able to do that?
Yes, ma'am. And in just a couple more slides, we're going to be talking. No, it's okay. We're going to be talking about 990s. Anybody have any questions on anything we've talked about up till now? What you got, Miss Carrie?
Could you repeat 3-to-1 rule again? I didn't understand what you meant.
So what it's saying is that for every fundraiser that you hold, you want to make sure that you are holding 3 PTA programs. And programs can be anything. It can be, I'm trying to think of some of the things we do at Lutz.
Consider a restaurant night a program? Or would that be a
Spirit night. Yeah, Spirit nights are different because a lot of times you're providing the restaurant with a W-9 and they're writing it off. So it's a donation and not a fundraiser. Exactly. So and especially if you offered something up, like you had a reader come or you did something. I count my general meetings as a program because we try to provide something. Like our third general meeting, we had somebody come in and talk about the need for more homes to open up for foster care and adoption. Right there, program, checking that box. Basically, what you want to make sure is every time you're doing something, you're not asking for money. What are you doing that is supporting the students? Like, are you providing popcorn?
Like a family night.
A family night, reading night. We do this thing, it's called our pause program up at Lutz. And if they have, it's a no tardy party. PTA doesn't run it, but we provide the popcorn or we provide the syrup and the ice and things like that. Program, checking that box. Because we didn't ask anybody for any money, and it's something that we did to support the needs of our students and schools.
So I have a question. We have Kona Ice come out. Does that count as 10 fundraisers, or is Kona Ice one continuous fundraiser?
It's just, you mean like one
they
company
come
comes
once
out
a
10
month.
times?
Yeah, they come once a month.
Do you use it as a fundraiser? I wouldn't count it as 10 fundraisers. I would just say it's like a monthly, I would just say it's Kona Ice, right? It's one line. You're not going to have 10 line items on your budget.
No,
You're
it's
just gonna
one
have
line
Kona
item.
Ice.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
It's
how
like
I
a
would look at
donation.
it. Yeah.
Okay, so if we hold a fundraiser, this fundraiser, and we hold this fundraiser, the funds from both of those separate fundraisers can go to the same 3 items.
No, what you did,
No?
you just said you wanted 2 fundraisers, so you just have to have 6 programs. They don't have, the fundraisers don't have to go to the programs. You just want to make sure when you look at your budget that you've got a really good mix of fundraisers and programs, right? So like what are we doing at Lutz this year? So we're kicking it off with a golf outing. So we got a fundraiser right there. But even before we get to the golf outing, we're doing a welcome back breakfast. We're helping with the principal packets. We've got a leopard literacy thing that we do. We'll do some kind of like donuts with grownups thing. No money, no nothing. I'm sure we'll work in a dance. But I'm already up to 5 and I only have 1 fundraiser. So it's all of that. You just want to make sure that you're doing things that bring your families together. What are you doing to support your communities? It could be like one thing that I count as a program is on our website. We provide information for internet safety resource. I count that as a program. That is something that we're offering to our families to help them. We also pay for brag tags for the school's media center. So the kids that read the books, they get these tags program. It's just, it doesn't have to be anything big, grand, and it doesn't have to be, if your fundraiser was for a new playground, that's not the program. The playground isn't the program. It's just you fundraised and that was the purpose of your fundraiser, but you had 1 fundraiser for it. Well, maybe you had a few, but just every time you're it's just because we're a 501c3 nonprofit, according to the IRS, you just want to make sure that you're not asking for money at all turns. And that when you are asking for money, right, that money is going to support the students and the teachers and the school and education in general. Does that help?
It does. I'm thinking of something really specific right now. And so I'm wondering if this is actually what you're talking about. If we do something that is, I'll just say it, we're thinking of doing an e-cycling fundraiser. It's a fundraiser. Yeah. We collect the electronics that people don't want, and we turn them in and they pay us. So it's a fundraiser.
It is, but it's not like the big ones like Step It Up or Color Runs or things like that, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a different
But I consider it more of a community service.
Exactly. And you could classify it as a community service, because like when we do spirit nights, we do get money from that, but we also hand over a W-9. So really, as far as we're concerned, you've just given us a donation. So we're not going to count that as a fundraiser.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think I understand.
All right. No problem. Okay, I'm going to move on and then I'll stop again and we'll answer some more questions. All right, insurance. Why is it important for local units and county councils and Florida? All of us need insurance, don't we? It's because, as PTAs, we are not immune from liability. And as many of the more experienced units know, you cannot have any functions on school grounds unless you have what you will hear the office staff refer to as COI, which stands for Certificate of Insurance. And now that the district is moving to this program called Facilitron, you will have to upload your insurance documents directly in there, and you'll be booking and reserving items, any space on the school grounds through Facilitron. But another neat thing.
Can I say something about Facilitron?
Sure.
They are very specific about how they want the name of the school district listed on that policy. We had to go through ridiculous hoops to get them.
Oh, good. I'm going to talk about that on the next page.
Good. Okay.
Because we have an amazing assistant to the principal, but she's been doing this for a couple of decades, and you cannot, God help you if you get it wrong. I mean, really, thoughts and prayers. And that's even before you get to Facilitron. So, but one of the things that people forget too is that, right, you know, like you hold a fall festival and somebody falls and breaks their arm. Well, the parents can sue the PTA, they can sue the school for the medical care. But what if something, I can't even imagine what would happen, but PTA officers themselves can be sued, board members can be sued. And so part of what that protection, what that insurance helps is it will pay your attorney fees, because that's what liability insurance is doing. They're saying that we're going to, you know, defend you in the event that somebody comes after you. And so what Teresa was referring to is these Hillsborough County Public School requirements. So in the lower left corner, you will see something that says certificate holder. It has to say that. And then you will also need, and whoever you use for your insurance, they won't do this automatically unless you already have insurance with them. Then they just repeat it from year to year. But even with that, every single year, I still have to call them and say, you didn't put the certificate holder on. It has to be school district of Hillsborough County, such and such address. And then I always make sure that I have the documents that say additional insured. And that is a requirement from the district. So Facilitron will catch it, the secretaries at the school will catch it, and more experienced board members should know about it. It should be written down somewhere. It should be a piece of information passed from treasurer to treasurer. And I would say like president, treasurer, secretary would be the three big ones that you would want to make sure that are making sure that the insurance policy is done correctly. Oh, and a little tip about insurance companies is you do not have to, so county councils renews in November. My school renews in October. You can pay your policy in August or September. You do not have to wait until the day it expires. Don't do that. You just call the company, you pay it, and you will see that if your expiration date is October 1st, 2022, then the policy will say, right, it'll say October 2nd, 2020 to the such and such date. They know what they're doing. They'll get you the necessary documentation. And you also don't have to wait for it to expire in Facilitron. If you are within a few weeks, you can go ahead and upload it and they'll take care of it. They're very appreciative if you do not wait until the last minute, especially if you're trying to get an event planned. So if you know you already have something in October, go ahead. As soon as you're done with your audit and you've had your budget approved by membership, start writing those checks, get it out, get your insurance paid, and get all that stuff into Facilitron so that you don't have any issues as the year goes on. Okay, so 990 filings. I'm not gonna, I can tell you right now, I can help you. If any of you have any problems whatsoever, as it comes time to do your 990s, I have been filing 990 EZs for 12 years now. So I really know what to do. I can't, if you are a unit that is making more than $500,000, I cannot help you. And good job if you are. So, but if you're under $500,000, I'm your woman. I'm happy to help you out. So you want to begin with by asking yourself, which 990 form do you need? And it's based on your gross receipts as averaged over 3 years. So if you're under 50,000, you will do, it's called 990N, but most of us just call it a 990 postcard. And then if you are greater than 50,000, but you're still under 500,000, you want the 990 EZ. And then as you're moving up, well, excuse me, gross receipts are less than 200,000 in total assets, because some PTA units do own property. If it's still under $500,000 for that, you can do the 990 EZ. But now as you are greater than $200,000 and or your assets are over 500,000, you will want to do a 990. And in that one instance is when I would tell you to get a CPA. It would be very well advised for you to get a CPA to do your taxes in that case, because typically if you're bringing in that kind of money and you have assets over $500,000, you have property. So there's lots of considerations such as depreciation, and there's all these things involved. And then there's lots of tax implications, which is why you would want to specifically go to a CPA. But most of us just have popcorn machines and ices and a few little things like that, and we're operating at 100,000 or less. Let's see. Oh, so some key dates regarding the 990 is as soon as your audit is complete, and when you do look at the audit form, you will see there's a line in there that will, I think it's, I don't know the number. We'll look in just when I get done with this. I'm going to show you guys some forms. You want to, as you're completing your audit, the audit is also going to walk you through 2 pieces of information that will transfer directly over to your 990. So it'll just make it a lot easier for you. The 990 is due November 15th to the IRS. And by the end of November, you want to make sure to email a copy to Florida PTA. And their email for that is 990@floridapta.org. And a tip regarding sending your document to Florida PTA, do not consider, you can have your confirmation that you submitted it to the IRS, but if you don't get an email back from Florida, so you send it via 990@floridapta.org, within a couple of weeks, you should receive an email reply that says received, thank you. If you don't have that email, then Florida PTA does not have it. So you start bugging them. I would give them 2 weeks because again, they have a lot of, lot more schools, a lot more counties. But you want to make sure that you get that confirmation. And then remember again, when you have completed it, you want to report it to the board so that the recording secretary can make note of it. You want to make sure you will keep a copy of the 990, but the recording secretary also keeps all of the minutes and any pertinent document, not everything, like I'm not going to keep your deposits and things like that, but things like copy of the audit, copy of 990s, big compliance requirements. It can be useful to make sure the secretary gets a copy because they will typically put that in with the minutes when you reported that it was done. So let's see here. Okay, so IRS 990 as of July 2021 is e-file only now. And you can go, so the very first that you don't just want to go to Google and say e-file, because things like Intuit, TurboTax, things like that, they don't do 990s. So what you want to do is you want to go to the IRS's website, and they have their authorized e-filers, and they have them organized by year. And we're gonna take a look at that right now. So when you follow the link that's within the slideshow, it'll come here, right? And this is e-filers, and you can see here, right? These are approved IRS modernized e-filers, business providers. Because we are in 2022, so November 15th, 2022, your taxes for 2021 are due. And you will go here, you will click on here, and then it will bring up a whole list. And I'm unable to recommend one to you, but just take a look. You want to make sure that it's free. You want to make sure that it's not very complicated. And by all means, I recommend that you come to the training because you can connect with other treasurers and other presidents who have been treasurers before or whatever. And they might recommend some sites like, oh, we tried this year and we didn't like it. We did this one, it was much better. And so there you have, that's the networking stuff that is just better. But just try one. And what it's going to do is it's going to just ask you a series of questions, just like doing TurboTax online. And when it gets done, it's going to spit out all the information and it'll file it electronically for you. Okay. Back when I started, if you visit this link right here, floridapta.org finance, again, they have 990N, which is the postcard. They have a step-by-step, and that's all they have. They don't have one for the 990EZ, but having done it online one time now, it will walk you through. It'll say, you know, what's this, and you will be able to find the corresponding information from your documentation. And then IRS, of course, you can also look at the 990EZ instruction form from the IRS. Okay, so let's see, we talked about that. All right, membership dues. You can pay them two ways. You can pay them via Member Hub, or you can do it by mail. And this is what the form looks like. So this form is more for our brand new units who aren't set up on Member Hub. And if you are not set up on Member Hub, I highly encourage you to get it done. I can put you in contact with somebody who can walk you through what that entails, but it makes life just a lot easier. And hold on, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment because I do want to show you the screen. So let's see, we talked about that. Should I do that? Okay, so here we're looking at, this is Lutz K8's Member Hub. So if you were the treasurer and it was time for you to pay your memberships, you would come here, you would click on memberships. And just like that, remit state dues. And if you owe anything, it will tell you right up here. So right now, like, we have no outstanding dues. We're done. We paid everything by May 1. I will often get asked, how often should you pay it? And ideally is every month, especially in the beginning part of the year, because July, August, September are our big membership drives. But there will come a point where it'll start trickling off, and maybe you have like one person join in December. It is okay to sit on that, and maybe you'll pick up a couple more so that you can at least be sending them $5, because you are going to have to pay fees. And, you know, it's for some units, it's not an issue, but for some units, it is an issue. So it is something to consider. And if you didn't want to pay it via Member Hub, you could fill the form out and send it in, but you'd still have to pay for an envelope, and you'd still have to pay for a stamp. Okay, so let's see what else I wanted to show you. Let's see, we have forms. Okay, I think this is the last one. Okay, give me just, sorry for the blur. All right, so I just want to highlight just a couple of things, because I do get a lot of questions on alternative forms. So most of the PTAs operate on cash and check, and then there's a few that have also started to incorporate debit and credit cards. Brand new as of the 21-22 school year, units are allowed now to do gift cards, but you have to be very careful with them because they are cash. So the max any individual at your school, okay, I'll answer questions in just a moment. The max, you want the cards to be $25, no more. And then you want to make sure that one individual doesn't get more than $50 in gift cards. So you could do 5 at $10 each, you could do 2 at $25, but you want to make sure that if it's coming to Mrs. Hamblen, that I only get $50 in gift cards from the PTA. So again, just to reiterate, they are the same as cash. So you want to treat it accordingly, and you want to develop procedures. Even at my school, we're still working on it. Because last year, again, like I said, it was the very first one. We had a couple, there were no issues, but there were a couple things where it was like, after we got done with something, we would say, well, what did we get right and what could we improve upon? And it would be, oh, you can this, like, I didn't like the way that was handled, or somebody was supposed to have the gift cards, but somebody else had them. It was a little confusing. And again, like nothing bad, but that is also all of a sudden when gift cards disappear. And it's interesting to know too, that gift cards are, there's two types, right? You have ones that the PTA will purchase. Maybe you're doing a bit of a raffle. Maybe you want to add something to some baskets that you're doing something with, or you are holding an event and you ask your families to donate gift cards so that you can purchase stuff. The ones that are donated, so those are like two different types of gift cards, if you will. And so you want to make sure that your procedures reflect that. And then the donated gift cards, one of the things that we added to ours is it wasn't a problem, but it was just kind of a question that came up during the year because we had somebody gift us a $300 gift card. We made sure that they understood that they don't get the change. Like once you make that donation, that's it. Because we didn't want to get caught up in this cycle of, well, I gave you 300, you spent 150, write me a check for 150. Because then it just looks like we're writing a check for 150 to somebody and we don't really, it would just, you don't want to do that as a treasurer. Just the paperwork, it's just messy. It doesn't look good. Just don't do it. So that was something that we were like, oh, we can improve upon that for next year. Okay, so I would say budgets are my number one question. And then the second question I get from a lot of units are peer-to-peer. And what that means is those are the ones like Venmo, Zelle, Cash App. And it is just, there's no PTA jail. There's no, you're not going to break a law, but National PTA recommends that you avoid those peer-to-peer platforms. And there's some very valid reasons. So for example, Venmo and most of them do not support nonprofits. So nonprofits have specific needs. There's tax implications there. They just don't support what nonprofits do. Another thing, and this is a big no-no for PTAs and treasurers specifically, tracking and reporting is almost non-existent. And people could say, oh, well, it's on my phone. Okay, well, then we go down to number 5 here, where there is no way to transfer that account. Because while on Venmo now, you can set it up for a business, but that business account still has to be tied to an individual. And you are the individual, so you can't transfer your account to somebody else, nor can you set up an account just in your PTA's name. So you create an issue with transparency, you create an issue with record keeping, and you just made things messy. There's also some things, there's lack of tax receipts. There's some of them, it varies by vendor, but some of them have weekly payment limits. So if you started moving large amounts of cash through there, it could be frozen and you may not know when you're going to get your money back. If you move a lot through there, there's the potential that if it's against your name, you would then receive, it's not a 990, I'm blanking on 1099K, I think it is. Because to the IRS, it looks like you're moving all of that money. So we just don't make things complicated if you don't have to. So we recommend highly that you don't use it, just because there's just no reason for it. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm going to come back here to the chat. And thank you, Kimberly, for answering questions as we went through. All right, so questions. How are we doing? Nobody better be running away. You're in for it now.
I do have a question about Venmo, and
Yes,
not
ma'am.
necessarily. I'm trying to gain that question and appropriately put it into words. Yeah, this is just with regards to the PTA, but like parents amongst themselves, of course, here's my kid, parents amongst themselves, were they to Venmo one another for like Miss Jones's whatever, like there's really nothing we can do about that. That's just their own kind of,
it's their own
situation.
Yep, it's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. I've put $20 paying for something and then they just Venmo me the money, right? I happen to have $20 cash on me, So sure, I'll buy your spirit shirt and whatever. And then, you know, I know you, so just send me the money. That's right. That's not a PTA transaction. That's just me
Okay.
being a human being and helping somebody out.
We're specifically referring to like selling things utilizing Venmo, correct? Like if we were to
Yes.
have like a grill cookout and the PTA was there and they were taking Venmo,
Yes.
and there are ways on Member Hub to accept money, so that's not necessary.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Where there's a will, there's a way. Because I've heard of some PTAs, and I mean, don't get me wrong, like I am, my full disclosure, my brother works at Square, and so I've been bugging him about this, and he said that they know about it and they are working on it. So I'm hoping soon we'll see some kind of resolution. But until that happens, but like I said, I have heard of PTAs who will say like they'll be selling stuff and be like, just Venmo us, or like they're doing a fundraiser and they just need like, I don't know, $300, and they'll just do a little Venmo thing. It is so neat. It is so creative, but don't do it. Because even like we have a great PTA up at Lutz K8, but that can change depending on people coming and going. That can change, you know, different administration comes in, and human nature, even though the person is amazing and you're good friends with them and you get along and everything is great, people have pressures in their personal life that you may not be privy to, and you just don't know. So that's why at all times you just want to make sure that, you know, what am I doing to ensuring that my PTA is functioning well, and that if something happened and I had to quit, there wouldn't be any problem, right? You wouldn't have to worry about, gosh, how am I going to get them all this Venmo cash? And, you know, how, you know, you would have to track, gosh, what if you had all of these Venmo transactions, and then you'd have, you know, $20 was for your spirit shirt and $20 were for tickets to this, and oh, your accounting and oh, your books would be so messy. And look, I'm just stressing out. Don't do it.
Thank you. I'm the incoming president at a really established PTA already, but there are still like old things, and I'm just trying to blend the new things with the old things.
Yes,
and it's Roland Park, so I'm just like, we have a foundation that's separate from our PTA, and it's always just trying to figure out the nuances of the financials.
Yes, and one thing too is don't beat yourself up, right? Because we've all done stuff. We can always improve on things. And so I think I remember Jen Martinez came to our August training, and I really liked what she said. She was like, well, you weren't doing it right before, but now you know better. So now we're not looking back, we're looking forward, and just fix it going forward. Don't, you know, there's no trials. I'm not going to show up and arrest you. That's not how this works, right? It's just at all turn, like every year, there's always room for improvement. You can be the best president and the best treasurer, and still somebody can tweak it a little bit and make your unit even more amazing. You know, because we see legacy stuff like that a lot. You know, every year, even on our budget, like we had 8th grade committee on our budget, but we decided to remove it because all they wanted was us to pay for field trip buses, which is fine as long as we're doing it for all the other grade levels, which we couldn't afford. So, right, because you can't do for one, you have to do for all. But there are things, you know, ways around, like let's say you did something for the 8th grade graduation. Well, just do something small for the rest of the grade levels, you know, pass out popcorn, pass out popsicles. It doesn't always have to be the exact identical, but as long as, you know, if I were to show up and look at your budget, I'd be like, oh, look at that. They're supporting all the grade levels. That's so awesome.
Yeah, actually, I have a very specific question about that, and I'm so sorry if others have questions. I'll actually get to you later on that.
Okay. Yes, and Kat, you feel free to message me, call me, whatever you need.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so I have some questions. The first thing is, how many years, just to confirm it, how many years is it that we have to hold our records for?
Ooh, that's a great question. I love that question. So minutes are forever and ever and ever, ever. And there is a link. Give me just a moment here. Let me just find it.
I don't know if it's 7 or 5. That's why I'm confirming.
Well, it depends. It really depends on what you are doing. Let me just, I closed it, dang it. There is, I will get you, I will find it here, hold on. I just closed it. All right. I am going to post this link in the chat as soon as I figure out how to get back to everybody. There we go. All right, so you want to go here. This is at Florida Finance. If you click on that link and you scroll to the bottom, you will see records retention. And that's because you have certain things like minutes have to be kept forever. You want to always keep copies of your audit, your 990s, the big things. But then like some of the finance stuff, you know, like the monthly, you know, deposits, income, voided checks, things like that, you can get rid of that in 7 to 10 years.
Okay. All right. So my next question is, you know that every year the Hillsborough County sends us the our membership payment, kind of. What? How can I say this? They send us the bill in which we have to pay for the members that we collected for the prior year.
I do that. Yeah, the one that's 20 cents a member. Yes, that's me.
Yeah. So they're sent. So my question is like, do you go to Member Hub and collect the amount of memberships that we paid for this? Okay.
Yes.
So like because this year, you know, this was our first year that we actually had the members purchase the memberships through Member Hub.
Okay.
So
what school are you at? You're a brand new one?
Beavis.
What is it?
Beavis Elementary. Pauline Beavis Elementary. Fishhawk.
Okay.
Okay. So because there was kind of like a mismatch in between the money that I collected for the memberships and what was being recorded, because the person that was putting in the memberships, the membership chair, she, you know, sometimes there are two family members that pay separate, and there's sometimes like they just pay for one family member. So she was entering them, so it was showing a different amount. It was calculating differently from what I had collected the money. But even though it was like that, we went ahead and paid whatever was showing online. So sometimes it showed that we had more memberships than the money that I had collected, but we just went ahead and paid it anyway, so we could be in compliance with what Member Hub said.
Okay.
You understand?
And so yeah, and so it was just a data entry error, like the way it was going in, you just made a mistake. Okay.
Yeah. So we still go ahead and went and paid off whatever we had there. But like, for example, we paid for all the teachers. Okay.
Right.
So so she never entered them in Member Hub.
I gotcha.
See?
Okay.
So
yeah.
we paid for more. I mean, last I know, she never entered them. So we paid for more than what Member Hub said, because we went ahead and just sent the check anyways.
Okay. Thank you.
So,
because I wouldn't have known. So it's, you know, it's a little bit on your honor too.
Yeah. So will they know, like, will they know that that membership was not paid, and they will enter the amount of memberships, and then you will know to bill us for the next year for the amount of memberships that we actually paid, or no? Is it just based on what is in Member Hub?
No, yeah, because if you don't put it in the database, then I don't know, right?
Even though we
then
paid
I
to
don't
them.
know. I will see your report, but I see it.
Okay.
Like they're constantly updating it, so there's like a report that gets sent out, but
yeah.
I mean, and because I do look, and I do know what you're talking about. There will be like a handful of schools that it doesn't match up. And I usually just pick a number. I just, you know, and because I always try to enclose a letter. And so I will also, I mean, I might not have caught your school, but I also do try to say like, hey, there's a discrepancy, you know, please just let me know what you think it should be. And just, it's fine. Like, you know,
Okay.
there's
Well,
no
either way, you
penalty.
just said, listen, we'll just pay it anyway. So,
Yeah,
okay,
thank you.
my third question is, so this coming year, this is my second year right now, and this coming year is gonna be my third year. So they voted me in for a third year.
Okay.
So I have worked like really, really hard on this account because it's a large account. And the person that was before me had it set up in Quicken.
Okay.
So I decided to take Quicken out because it was very confusing,
Okay.
and because not everything was being recorded like it should be.
Right.
So I got away from Quicken and I went and created my own spreadsheets. Okay, so I went to
It's
Excel.
no problem with that.
I
None
created
whatsoever.
my problem is we were supposed to have a like a how can I say, an apprentice for next
Okay.
year. So that person could be with it, but I pretty much, I'm in like standing in waters, which I don't have a person for next year. So the person that is supposed to be there for next year has been like very iffy.
Okay.
It doesn't feel like a reliable person. So I'm kind of afraid to hand over such a large account and they just make a huge mess out of it to the next person. Again, I know it's not mine and it's not personal and all of that, but
Right.
it's something that affects the school and affects the children at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
You,
So
I
go
would
ahead.
tell you just see if you could find somebody else.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times when,
of course, because I don't,
yeah, sometimes,
this,
especially when Excel shows up or QuickBooks, it's okay to say, hey, listen, it's fine. And some people get nervous about saying, I can't, it's beyond me. That's okay. This
yeah,
treasurer stuff is literally not for everybody.
yeah,
And so like Excel, some people like their brains just, they don't work that way and it's no problem.
yeah,
So it's okay to be hesitant because you are turning over these accounts. I would just really like open house, hit it hard, say, I'm looking for help, you know, start sending out
yeah,
member hub blasts, start asking, you know, do the text message
okay.
with all the parents and stuff. And within a month or two, you probably will find somebody,
Find somebody.
especially, yeah, if you tell them like, hey, even if you work full time, this is something you can do in the evening. There are things,
Yeah.
and that is one of the advantages of being the treasurer. You do have to show up to the board meetings, but most of your
yeah.
work is done on a Friday night or Saturday morning, right? You're just balancing a checkbook. You're making sure that checks are clearing, and you know, it's just accounting. It's just tidying up and making sure. So it's okay. And I did mean to talk just a little bit about QuickBooks. It is a very powerful tool, very powerful, but I've been using QuickBooks for 15 years now. It's not for everybody. I have had 3 local units alone that I have asked them to stop using it, because if you do not keep your database straight, the information that starts coming out is useless to you. And then like you had even made a comment about, well, we weren't even putting all the stuff in, then you don't need it. If every single one of your transactions is not going into your QuickBooks, then you're not using it. And you might as well, you can get a piece of paper, you can put it on an Excel spreadsheet. You can just use an old-fashioned check register too, if that's what you want to use, as long as you have some kind of written documentation somewhere that somebody can see how your money is being spent.
Of course. Now, then the person that wants to be the treasurer for next year, for the year after, she made a suggestion about putting all the files, because like I said, I use Excel, putting all the files into Google, the Google Drive. How do you feel about that? Because like I'm
Google
very
Drive.
overzealous of my work and I don't want anybody else to touch it.
Yeah.
Because
There are things you can do where you can save it as a PDF and then upload it. So maybe that's something you do. Maybe you save it. Hey, it's August, end of August, PDF gets loaded August. That's where the books were at in August. And this way nobody can touch it. Or you just put it in your drive and maybe you only share it with the president just so one other person has it. Because God forbid, what if something happened to you? But
yeah,
you know, it's okay to not want to have everybody. And it's not that you're trying to hide the money or anything, but you're like, I worked really hard on all of my formulas. Please don't mess it up. So that's okay too. Yeah. That's something that I'm working on for county as well too, because we use Excel because we don't have the near amount of work that local units do. Ours is very different. And so that's what I'm trying to work on, is trying to make something that's friendly for whoever comes after me. And working on some kind of protocol like that too. Yes, very welcome.
Erica, a few people are asking if you're going to have the slides available or if you're going to send them via email or.
They are available. It's already uploaded on our website. It is, hold on, let me get you the link again. I had it. This is where the slideshow is at. And if you check back, everyone who's still with us, if you check back, probably within a few days, I got a few things I have to get done, but I've been trying to get together, what was it? I wanted to get a sample budget, a sample treasurer's report, a sample standing rules, and maybe even a few sample forms up on there for you guys. You don't have to use what we, but it just helps people sometimes if they just see something, it at least they can use that, or they can say, no, that's not for me, but now I know where to start, and they do something that works for their unit. So definitely check back. And again, too, if you want to sit through this again, I'm going to do it again in July. And then right, Kimberly, I think sometime in August, sometime soon, we're going to be setting our calendar and we'll be setting our fall training. And so you'll get to be with the treasurer. And at that one, I'll present with the secretary, because the treasurer and the secretary, they're like best friends because they help each other keep the records. Oh, when you click the link, it'll bring you to, you see where it says summer 2022 training and materials. It's summer 2022 treasurer training. It's a PDF. Did that help, Miss Jody? Oh,
No,
hold on.
sorry.
I only,
Like,
no, I was chatting with Kim.
No, I
And
can't see. All I see is everybody's faces.
No, it's okay. I sent it only to Kim.
Oh, I was like, am I crazy?
No. Try that. I'm just looking through my notes here to make sure. Yeah, and there's lots more to this treasurer stuff too, but it's, I mean, this is a really good foundation. And then, like I said, I'm always available to help and ask questions. And I highly encourage you guys, once we pick our date for August training, to come on out, because you can meet other units too, other treasurers, other presidents. You can get ideas for programs. You can talk about how they maintain their books and stuff. I find it to be very, very, very helpful. Probably, I sometimes like it a little bit better than even leadership convention. Wouldn't you say that, Kimberly? A little less intense and a little more personal.
Yeah, I think we're partial though, Erica, but yeah, for sure. I definitely like the county trainings. And I mean, they're a lot more personal. We do a lot of the same presentations. We just kind of personalize them a little bit and make them more fun, right?
Yeah. And make it specific to Hillsborough County too, because
yes.
Yeah. So, well, that's all I have. I've kept you guys a little longer than I meant to. I am sorry about that, but I hope it was helpful. And if, like I said, if you guys think of any questions, feel free to contact any one of us on the board. We're happy to help you and, send you in the right direction.
Thank you so much, Erica.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you so much for helping me, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Have a nice night, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.